Welcome back, everyone. I'm Dr. Foojan Zain, and I'm excited to have two people with me from Mental Health Transformation. We have Joe Fletcher, who's a member of the Mental Health Transformation Group, and we have Harry Durbitsky, who's the founder of the Mental Health Transformation, and both are the coach. Harry's also the lead coach, and he is the author of 4 books, including his latest one, Evolution of Addiction, Recovery Reopened. Um, I think, Harry, you were an early student of Sydney Banks and personally benefited professionally from Sydney's messages about pure truth, about 3 principles of universal mind, thought, and consciousness. Joe, you had suffered from decades of physical health and mental health struggles that severely restricted your life from childhood, and then you came across these 3 principles, and now discovered your own healing and purpose, and seeing that life can be fulfilled despite anything that anyone says. So it's a great joy to have both of you with me today.
Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So first, there are 3 principles that you talk about. We'd love to hear about the 3 universal principles: the mind, the thought, and consciousness.
Go ahead, Joe, you do that.
Yeah, I mean, how it means to me is that I discovered it's how we work as human beings and how we perceive reality and reality works. And so for me, I mean, mind is that intelligence that's behind everything, behind nature. And it's there that's guiding me as well. And I mean, there's been times I've become really anxious and I try to fight that and try to intellectually change it. And it just ended up getting more and more into the pit. But then when I actually said that, okay, I know there's this intelligence behind that, I can just let go. I can just be and just let it do it itself. And then I see how in nature it's always bringing us back to harmony. And it's only our personal mind, that little intellectual mind, that's trying to fight it and trying to control it, that blocks it out. But then every time I accept my situation now and just let it guide me back to that, I go back naturally. And that's happened so many times. And then I know that actually that's part of my growth. And then I see that we have the consciousness. It's how we perceive our thoughts, how we bring them to life, how we bring everything to life. And we have levels that we grow. And when we're in a low level of mood and a low level of consciousness, or another word is understanding, it is like being in the darkness, or you could say metaphorically in the pits of hell. And at that time, we're just trying to do the best we can with what we know, and we don't know any better. It's like walking around blind. And so from seeing that, I can just see the innocence in myself and the innocence in others, that actually there's never anything personal they're doing to others. It's just they're trying to do the best, and I'm always trying to do the best to survive how I know how. And I know that actually each realization or insight I have in myself, that I grow again. And that even when there's been times I've got chronically depressed and I just realize that actually my consciousness has dropped at that point and I don't need to know any more than that, and just be with that, and then it naturally grows. And then we have thought, which is the power of thought, and it's that's behind our thinking. It's not personal thinking. There's a misconception there. It's what powers our brain and our personal mind, but the personal thinking is just a byproduct of it. And so it's going back to that, the purity of thought, and that before our concepts, that before our memories and our future predictions, and that, and seeing that actually that's just an illusionary creation from the mind, and that there is that pure realization that brings that healing to me, that every time I touch that, and then it comes through the feeling, and it's that feeling of pure joy, pure love, pure unconditional. And I know that actually that's where the healing comes for me. And every time I go back to that, just by seeing past the lies and the illusions of the mind, of the little mind, that actually, yeah, it's always there within me.
So it's a spiritual psychology rather than working with the past or blaming outside circumstances for what you're experiencing. So let me give you an example of what I experienced with thought. So I'm on a mountain, just happened with Sydney Banks, who is the founder of these 3 principles, or the uncovering of the truth of how formless creates form. And he says, ask me any questions I want. And so I start asking him these questions, and he answers every question at the end with, and it's all one. And I go, isn't that strange? I never connect everything to it's all one. It's all a continuation. You know that. I know you know that already. It's all just a continuation from what was happening. And then on the 10th question, I ask him something I can't remember, and I physically see thought leave my mouth, go into the great abyss, and boomerang into me as a feeling. And for the first time in my life, I realized who was causing all my suffering. It was the boomerang. And if I was thinking negative, guess what was boomeranging back into me? So that's an insight I had. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about book knowledge. Any puppet can repeat mind, thought, and consciousness. We're talking about an experience that takes you inside so that you see the source. In the indigenous world, they say you look for first cause. In the psychological world, they look at ninth cause and then what goes on from there. First cause is where it all started from. And where that is, we're saying is thought.
So as I hear you, I'm also hearing you say that when you have the ability to observe and create a non-attachment to that thought and emotion, that as you observe this concept, that the non-attachment itself allows you to trust that the system is going about as a system is going to go about. And you are part of a system, part of that one. And if you trust and allow that to be, then you don't get bogged down with the thought that you just got attached to, or the feeling, or the way that it shows up and it goes, and as you say, boomerang, then you sit with that space where let's say the truth of who you are, or the essence of the responses or the answers or the way the process needs to be shows up. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct, with the added little feature. It's coming from you. You don't care what Harry says or what Joe says. You only care what you know, what you experience. So what you just said, that unattachment and not bogging down with beliefs and noise. I put out a talk, all problems are caused by overthinking. It's obviously true, but people just aren't aware of it. But once they experience this trust that you're talking about, oh, it works like this. And I know that, not I read that, not I got that from a shrink, or I got that from a guru, or I got that because I experienced. So Joe doctored himself. He saw something and he changed his mind. Yeah. Now you say it can't be that simple, but unfortunately, people, it is. It is that simple. You are just thinking too much intellectually about your low moods. Wake up and start enjoying your good moods.
Question that comes up for me, and I've worked with a lot of clients, which this question comes up for them, and then we have to go through the process. But I want to also know from your perspective, is that when it comes to the defining of which one is my thought process, which one is my emotions that are based on the thought process that are showing up, and which one is an intuitive or the truth or the essence or the first cause that shows up. And many people don't know the differentiation between the voices that shows up, or the information, or and the reason I say this is because they would say, for example, that as I'm sitting here, my intuition or my emotion says, my inner child, however they call it, says this is what I want. And then yet, like, for example, your book is about addiction. Many times when we're talking about that essence of them is going and running after something that they mistake by that is their essence. And the distinction sometimes is not there for them. And, that sometimes is their attachment to something that is actually more detrimental for them, or is there a way from your model and from your perspective that they could distinguish between these essences or voices or the thought process that shows up for them?
It's a great, great question. Honestly, just really at the heart of everything, of the reason you want a deeper understanding. That is at the heart of it. And because you've heard it so often, you know it's on people's minds. Why are people talking about what's not on their mind? That is what's on their mind. So, Joe, you go for it.
Yeah, for me, I mean, what we would call the ego mind, or the sense of self-importance, it always wants more, and it always thinks it needs it from outside, and that it just wants more happiness, it wants more enlightenment, more this and more that, or more things, and that's just a temporary relief. And it's because it thinks we're not already complete, and actually, truly, we know we are already complete. And when that voice comes, it's so distinctive. I mean, you can't mistake it, really. I mean, you've got that little noise, and then suddenly it'll just burst the negative feelings, or burst the depression, or burst the concepts and that. And it's like it just drops away. And for me, it just comes up through inside as well. It's not something that I try to think about or try to get. And then when that happens, I just feel so positive inside, and I can just feel the lift inside me. And just the whole world looks different. I mean, like the other day I was met a friend who he's had a lot of problems with tranquilizers and that, and he was just really depressed. And I asked him how he was, and he says, I'm really ill. And I just, because he's quite religious, I'd asked if he'd been to church, and he said he can't go at the moment because of lockdown. And then I said, well, God's in you and God's in here. And that actually, and then he started to brighten up. And then he said about how he loves God and he loves Jesus. And I said, they love you too. And that whatever you do, they're always with you. And to keep the faith. And then he just brightened up. And then I just felt this whole joy inside me, this positive feeling, and just the whole reality of the town I was in changed, and everything just looked more beautiful. The people looked different. Everything looked different. And so once you've experienced it, there's no mistaking the two. I mean, it's just so distinct between them, and how it changes your life and changes your whole outlook on things.
You have to prove it to yourself, Foojan. You have to, the feelings have to prove to you that they're correct. And if you misread them, let's say you feed in misinformation, or you have a trigger or an attachment to that, it will always take you in the wrong direction. That's the proof. That feeling that you thought was a good feeling was not a deeper feeling of who you are, your true self. And when you follow a feeling and it takes you deeper into levels of consciousness, or levels of understanding, or levels of feeling, you can then know when that feeling shows up, I can trust it. It must prove itself. And so it's a science. It's just this. Dr. William James said there are principles in psychology. I don't know what they are, he said, but I know they are there to make it into a science. It is a science. No one can tell you when you have a feeling that it's not real, except one person, Foojan, you.
When you say that is, I've been practicing with this with myself, with my clients. And I think you appreciate, because of working with the addiction, you know, I've been an addict to cigarette and then food all my life. So it's interesting is I hear the bargaining. So there's this part that I don't ask myself if I should have this. I just bargain that I should. And when I've done the exercises of, can I have this? Is this good for me? It's crystal clear when my body and my essence says yes or no. But I don't even ask, because my bargaining aspect of my addict just wants it. So I'm just going to say, yes, that's what I want. And I've really watched these two pieces and promised myself that I'm going to ask the first question first, which is this for me? As you know, is this what I should eat? Is this good for me? And I know that when I ask the right question and answer or listen to the answer, that my body does tell me the right answer for me, and I can distinguish between those voices. So that has been my kind of finding for myself. Just wanted to share that with you based on what you were saying.
Yeah, well, that's it. See, what's happened is your level of consciousness went up. And so you're looking at it from a different perspective. It's not as stingy as it was before when your level of consciousness or understanding was. So you're actually, what's happened is it's never as bad when your level goes up. And that's what's happened to you. You've seen clearer. You say, well, I haven't seen it fully. The purpose is you've grown as a human being and you become a better person. You have more compassion for your clients now because you're on a higher level. And finally, at the end, you actually have more compassion for you.
Yes.
For you. And you don't care that Harry is happy. You want to be happy. Like, you're glad that Harry is happy and Joe is happy and he's had this huge transformational experience. But you still care. You want to be happy. And we define our happiness by our results. That's a mistake. You are growing. You have let go of so much of it. Yeah, you still have stuff you don't know. Well, welcome to the human club. To be honest, me too. Yes.
We have a couple more minutes, and I just wanted to give you guys a chance to talk about the Mental Health Transformation Group and how can people find you and be a member?
Well, first of all, it's a closed group, so we're not looking for masses of people. What we're looking for is specific things, and they're invited by myself to join the group. I'm the lead coach, but we're a team. We're teaching each other. So it's not like my model or I'm the leader and they follow what I do. I probably kick more bum than anybody else in the group, but Joe, you go on with what you feel the group is and who you are in it.
Yeah, it's that camaraderie, really. We grow together, and then that's when we feel that oneness, that we all have that wisdom and seeing beyond problems and the ideas and that and what we think we are. And so that when each one has their wisdom, it touches the others and we see more and more together. And yeah, I mean, you can contact me at mentalhtjoe@gmail.com and I'll be happy to share any videos we have and Harry's book as well. And it's seeing as well that how it's different to the other groups I've been in. So I've been in lots of different mental health groups and that they're about negativity and diagnosis and problems and that. And I see that when I come to this group, I might have had problems before, but we've talked about a spiritual reality. And from that point of view, it's just they drop away and I've forgotten to even talk about them. And then afterwards, like, darn, I was going to talk about them problems. And it's a whole different view of looking at the world, that actually it's not by digging in the mud and digging in the swamp. It's by actually seeing who we truly are and where that really resides. And that's where the healing is, that when you're in groups like that, you actually naturally grow and you naturally see past problems, that they are just that mind created illusion, really.
And you drop your beliefs about what you are. See, when Joe first came, he thought he had to, if we give a talk, we had to have this doctor on and this. I said, no, Joe, you're the proof. You're the proof. And you know what? That was hard for him to see. But once he saw it, he said, oh, actually, this feels pretty cool because it's true. Yes. Not because it's sugarcoating and trying to promote a brand and all this stuff that the mental health field is into. People, watch your beliefs. You're healthy already, except for your thinking.
And do you have a podcast?
I have quite a few podcasts that I do, and webinars, but we meet once a week, and like I said, it's a closed group where we soar into higher levels of consciousness, and then they doctor themselves, and they teach me, and so I'm the lucky guy. See, I never know when a person is going to change. Right. But I am an excellent judge of horse flesh. And I can tell people, even though nobody else sees it, I see it. You know why? Because I feel it.
Yeah.
That's all. I can't do it intellectually.
Yeah.
You can't get free of your mental scenarios through an intellectual information thing. If you're going to try and solve your low moods with intellectual bullshit that the status quo world is offering to you, good luck. But don't blame the bullshit. You're the one who's eating it.
Thank you. Harry Verbitsky and Joe Fletcher, Mental Health Transformation Group. Thank you so much for spending the time coming in and sharing your world with us.
Oh, really short but sweet.
Yes. Joe, any last comments?
Yes, it's to trust and know that actually you're already there and you already have it within yourself, that you don't need it from anywhere else. And it's just a misbelief that's creating your issues and your mind's tendency to project into the past and future. But actually, when it quietens down again, we always find that healing again.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, both of you, for spending the time to be with us. And for all of you, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.